Hey there, guys. Welcome. We'll just give it a few minutes. There are more people joining the Zoom room. If you could please put all of your microphones on mute, videos on if you'd like. Hey there. How's it going, Jerome? Haven't seen you in a while. Hey. Type of one in the chat if you guys are feeling a little bit weird. Like the energies have been very strange recently with a full moon and stuff like that. Awesome. Well, it's great to see all of your smiling, bright faces. I'm going to be doing a Q&A specifically on being in the flow. So whenever you guys are ready, type into the chat, please. We can get started. All right. So I've been wondering about lucid dreaming and flow state. Does lucid dreaming affect your level of getting into flow? Okay, that's a really good question, man. And I've experienced and experimented with lucid dreaming in college. And also, I know some tips and tricks. There are certain supplements you can take to help you lucid dream. In terms of the flow state, I would say that it does help your recovery phase, because think of it like this, right? So your lucid dreaming is actually a mirror for your life, right? You basically get to tap into the subconscious mind, and as you're controlling your life in the lucid dream, you can then control your life in the physical world. Okay. Now I know this sounds a little bit weird. Sounds a little bit weird and metaphysical to say. However, I've noticed this in my own life when I'm in control in my lucid dream. Let's say I'm flying around and feeling that freedom. Like I remember once I saw this amazing like sky blue pavilion and all the plants were purple, kind of weird, right? But in my lucid dream, I could change the hue of things and I could fly around and I could change the environment. Now, I noticed that week after that I had a lot more freedom in my beingness, okay? So it'll show up in little ways like this. It's important to have a totem or a symbol so that when you do tap into your lucid dream, you can use that as a way to check, okay, whether you are dreaming or not. I like to stare at my hands. I know I have rings on certain fingers and your hands will appear very blurry. So constantly making a check to look at your hands, also turning lights on and off, sometimes that helps too. Any kind of a mental check in terms of when you're dreaming or not, and then really taking the power to control that. But okay, yeah, so you are lucid dreaming and you want to get into flow. So yeah, so what I would say is it does help your flow state, but it's not a huge impact in your flow state, right? Because flow state is simply you being in the present moment. It's synonymous with presence. It doesn't have anything to do with, I mean, unless you have presence in your dream. Think of it like this, right? You're lucid in the dream, right? And so you can be lucid in real life. So that's how it affects your lifestyle in a way, because if you're more clear, you have more clarity in your dreams, you have more clarity in your life, okay? That's the best way I can describe it to you. And yeah, so just being helpful to go into almost a space, creating a mind palace, creating a sanctuary or dojo for yourself in your dream, going there, exploring that realm, adding subconscious imagery on the walls, designing the home essentially, right? Designing the furniture of the mind and really setting up shop there is very useful, okay? So I've been trying to ask this girl out for a while and she keeps flaking on me. She's really putting me out of the flow zone. What do you suggest in this case to get my flow back? Okay. First of all, I just say, man, you're putting way too much importance, okay, on this interaction, okay? It sounds to me like this is kind of like one-itis, how I'd say it, right? So, look, man, if somebody flakes on you, they probably have better things going on. You just have to look at the hard facts here, okay? Like, they're prioritizing something else at this time, and it is very chaotic during this time. Okay, everybody's stuck at home, everybody's looking after their families and friends, so you can't take it personally. All right, the more personally you take it, it's more in the ego realm, right? So when you're in the ego realm, when you're working with your identity and your ego, it's not really going to be ideal for you to get into the flow. Okay, however, what you can do is just simply, text her, no big deal. Let's reschedule, show your commitment, show your patience. Why would I tell you to show your patience? All right. Patience is a demonstration of higher value simply because it demonstrates survival, that you're willing to go through the period of pain in order to survive. You are much stronger than your competition. Okay. There's a lot of impatient guys out there in this generation. Okay. If you can be that guy who takes his time, who understands that, hey, one little flake, if she ghosts on you, that's all right. You're not here to be Ghostbusters. You're just here to accept that paranormal part of her and just be able to own yourself, just, all right, maybe she isn't the one for you, like accepting that takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of balls, right? So if you just consciously decide, like, okay, Jake isn't texting me back. You see, thinking about something as petty as someone texting you back or not, that is really, really taking up a lot of mental storage space. If you think of your brain, right, like a hard drive storage space, just worrying takes up a lot of storage space in your mind, okay? Worrying specifically about people who are blocking you and limiting you from thriving and flourishing, okay? Like I had this guy say, I recently had a client tell me that, he has a crush for 2 years and he's never told his family. He hasn't told his friends even about the feelings towards this girl. He's just kept it repressed inside of him for 2 years, okay? Now, it's so important to be able to express ourselves, right? Especially when it comes to issues of the heart. Because if we don't talk to someone about this, it's going to stay in this contemplative neurospace, and it's just going to eat away at you. You know what I mean? It's just going to eat away at your mind, and you don't want that, okay? You want to establish a proper sense of rapport with yourself, okay? Self-rapport. And you have to learn to trust yourself again through this process. Look, you have a crush, right? You're going to grow out of it. Okay, a crush, what are you, like in middle school? Come on now, okay? Okay, you have a crush. She's kind of hot. So what? So what? Oh, she's kind of attractive. Well, okay. Well, what are you going to do with that information? Are you going to let it fester up in your mind more and more? Or are you actually going to use that in some way? Are you going to implement that and have gratitude for yourself during this time? The answers are very plain and simple. You see what I'm saying? All right, so are there any pointers? I've been reading Stealing Fire and I can't seem to get through it. Do you think it's worth it for me to go through it, or do you think I should just... Look, I can't answer that question, brother, because, everybody has a different experience of reading and experiencing that, okay? So maybe well, let me ask you this. Are you a reader? Jackson, are you a reader? Okay. Okay, so you read sometimes, but you watch videos. Okay. So watching videos, yeah, so you're an audio-visual learner, right? So yeah, you like reading, but you also like watching videos. Okay. So, I mean, why not try to get an audiobook version, see if that does it for you? If not, that's okay. You don't have to force yourself to read Stealing Fire. Okay? It's not like the Bible of Flow, okay? Even the book Flow, I would say, by Csikszentmihalyi, right, isn't the Bible, okay? you can definitely read these books and get a clarity and an understanding of what the state is. And definitely, like, there's books coming out all the time, right? I love Stephen Kotler's stuff, you know, Mapping Cloud9, his recent one, Impossibility, The Art of the Impossible, or whatever his new one is that's coming out. I recently actually got the book, Be Water, My Friend, from Bruce Lee's daughter, right? Shannon Lee, who wrote this book. It's incredible. It's actually very incredible. That book actually might be one of my Bibles in regards to the flow. Now, she doesn't directly talk about the flow state, though she does mention it a couple of times, right? But she's talking more of Bruce Lee's philosophy, and, you know, he died when she was like 4 years old, obviously, so she doesn't have that very much one-on-one time with him, I guess, but she does have that experience of growing up with him for those 4 years. I'm sure she's downloaded some kind of information, and it seems to be very useful. I mean, he's a great writer, okay? She writes really well. And also the Bruce Lee podcast, I mean, she does that too. And it's just an incredible way to learn more about the flow state. But yeah, Stealing Fire, man, you know what? There are some ecstatic principles in there that are fun, you know, that are relevant, that give you some context, but it's not a go-to, right? You're not going to get into flow state by reading about getting into flow state, okay? That's not what it's about. What the reading does is it helps you gain a context, helps you, you know, create a library in your mind, okay, some reference points here and there, but you don't want to go super scientific, right? You want to have 1 foot in the scientific, 1 foot in the mystical, okay? If you're going too much into the woo-woo and the mystical, that's a problem. If you're going too scientific, that's a problem too. Okay, you want to have that balance, 50-50, okay? You want to have that yin-yang, that integration, that harmony. I can't seem to... What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? What do you mean you don't have the power to? Okay, so the question, I'm just reading it out for, you know, the people listening on YouTube. I don't have the power to push through the final set in my workout simply because of the distraction of mental garbage fixated on a specific memory. Okay, what do you mean by that? Mental garbage? Is that how you see your own mind? First of all, I would reframe that completely. I don't think it's mental garbage. Your thoughts aren't mental garbage, okay? Maybe it's the subconscious stuff coming out of the junkyard, but I would not frame it as mental garbage, okay? All right, Ventura. So one thing that I would tell you is definitely watch the way you speak, okay? So words create a world, and that can really impact our flow state. You see, a lot of our self-talk is just repeated memories of the past, right? It's learned response. And basically, self-talk is you speaking to your inner child. So if you're speaking to your inner child like a bully or a critic or somebody, you know, if you're saying mental garbage, you know, I see a lot of people also using the word monkey mind, and I understand because a monkey, you know, it goes from branch to branch. In Buddhism, they use that term monkey mind. But then again, you're not a monkey, my friend, okay? You are, but then you aren't. Okay, you're evolved. Yes, you do have a lot of DNA shared with the chimpanzee. I understand. You are the Homo sapiens sapien. I understand. You came from the Homo erectus and all that. Yes, yes, you do have a primal instinct inside of you. But your mind is not only a monkey mind, okay? Because if you're calling it a monkey mind, it's going to go, ooh, ah, 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 right? It's going to be that monkey mind. So again, it's about the reframing, okay? So your mental garbage, I mean, I would recycle that mental garbage and make it into a better word choice, vocabulary, all right? Use some verbal vinyasa, right? Do you have my product, Verbal Vinyasa, by the way, Ventura? You don't have it. Okay, yeah, I'd highly recommend that, okay? Highly recommend that for you. Because See, the thing is, man, communication has a lot of elements of getting us into the flow and breaking us out of the flow. If you're using your imagination in the right, accurate way, you have a lot of clarity. You have a lot of discipline, clarity with your language, and you can speak just like I'm speaking on camera. I can talk nonstop. But if I didn't have the flow, I would be stumbling over my words every 5 seconds. I'd go, yeah, and it would just distract everyone. But if you take off those barricades, those filters, and you allow yourself to speak, then it becomes a different ballgame. Right now, it's the verbal vinyasa. Now the floodgates are opened. Now you can fully express your heart and your heart signature in your words. And it doesn't become this like chaotic, like construction that you're trying to, micromanage and like, oh, I must discipline myself. I must appear a very specific way. Oh, have you seen people do videos like that, by the way? They're like, hey there, guys. And they have all these weird effects in the videos and stuff like that. And it's very in your face, but they're about to sell you something. Like there's just like no value whatsoever. It's probably copy pasted from Google or some shit, right? And they're just speaking into the camera, right? You can very obviously tell that they're not in the flow, right? And I understand this because I've been there. I understand that performative aspect of like wanting people to like you, okay? And it's okay to want to do that, okay? We're human beings, we crave attachment to other people. We crave that feeling of acceptance from others. I get it, right? I get it. But then again, if you're not internally validated, you're not coming from that flow code, okay? So you want to always come back to what is my flow code telling me, what are my values, what are my strengths, what are my virtues, what are my principles, what is my foundation, what is the basics that really align to everything that I'm doing, and how am I looking at the world through those goggles. You guys already know how important the word perspective is to me. So, this is just clarifying it. All right, guys, any other questions? I can do this all day, to be honest. Woo! Woo! When I'm freestyle dancing, I notice that I trip up on certain songs. Very interesting. That's interesting, Sam. So let me ask you this. What is special about those songs? Right? Like, what is special about that piece of music, for instance, that gets you out of the flow with those songs? Again, memories, okay? Guys, you guys are too attached to your memories, okay? Your memory bank, think of it like Chinese whispers, right? It's like we whisper a thought to somebody else, and it gets distorted over time, right? So your memory that you think you have is an interpretation based on your now moment. You see what I'm saying? So what have you been thinking about recently? Is it like a song that reminds you of an ex? Is it a song that, reminds you of your parent? Like, what memory is associated with it? Trauma. Okay. So yeah, you don't have to mention that details about your trauma, obviously, but yeah, so that's a trigger, right? That's a trigger. And awareness precedes control, right? So being aware of the trigger when it does come up. Let's say a song plays on the radio and you get triggered by it, right? You feel the instant like feeling of threat, fight or flight kicking in, anxiety ramping up, right? Making your senses heightened, but it's like it's this ferocity that just builds so much energy and tension, and you don't know what to do with that energy. Basically, anxiety is too much energy in the head, right? Where it needs to flow into the body more. You need to express that and ease the body. You need to learn how to ease the mind and ease the body. That's it. That's the practice. Just letting it go, practicing that, because we get really attached to things. We get possessive, we get jealous, we get, certainly attached to certain ideas and concepts. We can't let it go. I remember when I was creating and I was writing plays, I used to do really well in drama, as you guys know, right? Yeah, TPM, exactly, TPM. And, I would just start to write these plays and get these ideas during drama classes. And I remember I was super attached to certain ideas, right? Does this ever happen to you guys? Like you get so attached to this one idea, you can't trash it. It's like it becomes so precious to you, right? You're like, this is my baby. I can't let go of my baby, right? It becomes almost like a silly game that you play with yourself. And yeah, so basically, what I would say is as the triggered song is happening, I mean, using that as a part of your dance, okay? So to me, it sounds to me like you play a song and then you play it, it kind of, you allow yourself to freestyle through the music. And since maybe you're using Spotify or YouTube, wherever you're listening music, it's skipping to a song in a playlist where it's reminding you of a specific trauma or memory, or maybe it's even a genre, right? Music that you listen to and it triggers a certain memory. So I mean, I don't know. It would be ideal to clean up that playlist in some way. So don't randomize it, but have a specific playlist from before. So you create the flow scenario, right? The circumstances. You have a sense of control over the music, and it's not just kind of on the randomizer. Though I do understand it might be uh, kind of difficult to just do that all the time, right? To plan beforehand. However, it's very useful, right? Especially if it comes down to your purpose, passion, craft, right? You want to double down on that thing. You want to really be able to control this thing, right? You want to go simulation level clarity and detail on this thing, right? However, as I mentioned, awareness precedes control. So just being aware of it. Okay, let's say Slipknot or whatever, right? Oh, Slipknot, that brings a bad memory up. Okay. Listening to the lyrics, not feeling good in your body, observing it. Maybe you feel a tension, maybe your palms are sweating, maybe you feel your heart drops your gut, whatever you feel. Just observe that and just notice that, right? And as the lyrics are playing, what you're doing is you become much more conscious of the song and you don't attach meaning to the lyrics. You're just seeing the person making words with his mouth, and you start to segregate the different instruments used in the song, right? And as I mentioned, you can use it actually as a part of the performance. So if you feel disgust in the song, maybe that might be a movement that you might use in your dance. I mean, that's just my perspective in terms of flow. But I mean, do you have like a dance piece that you're preparing for or something? No. Okay. All right, I'll take a few more questions and then I'll leave it on YouTube. If you guys want to join this masterclass or you want this recording, shoot me a message. It is only available for very specific few people, okay? I'm going to give it to actually 4 people who ask me first, and then it's gone, okay? Because I want to make these calls very elite for you guys. All right, so awesome, legendary. So any final questions, guys? I'm taking any last requests. I'm taking last requests, guys. That was my Cartman voice, not my. I don't know what you thought that was. Awesome. This is a great question. Okay. Is it important to merge with my opponent when I am doing BJJ? Brazilian. I assume you mean Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're doing something else, I don't want to know. Okay. Just kidding. Okay. BJJ. Okay. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay. Merge with your opponent. Well, Bruce Lee has this interesting concept of becoming like water. In a sense, you become formless, shapeless. You become a blank slate, and you move with the opponent's moves, and you become a mirror to their movements, right? Holding space for them and allowing yourself to attack and defend from this yin-yang balance, this place, right? So yes, in a sense, you do want to merge with you don't actually, you don't want to merge with the opponent, but you want to merge with the action, right? We say flow state is action and awareness merging together. So you don't want to become the other fighter, because that's silly. You might want to. You might think of it like metaphysical concept, like I'm merging with them, I'm becoming them. Well, that's not really that helpful in a fight. What you want to do is you want to become the fight itself. You want to coordinate yourself like it's almost like a synchronous dance, okay, where your movements are calibrated and you're reacting and responding appropriately with. You want to balance your instinct, impulse. Let's say they get you choked up from behind, right? You want to react impulsively to that, move with it, right? Kind of allow yourself to move with this block, right? And again, like I'm not an expert in martial arts, okay? I'm just speaking from my own experience and flow state experience, okay? There is this concept where you channel the sense of oneness with what you are doing. So in a fight, let's say you have you from behind, okay? He's choking you. Now, instead of fighting against that, resist, whatever you resist will persist. We know this from Carl Jung. So in a sense, instead of resisting that, you're moving into that a little bit more. You're softening yourself, right? As they're hard, right? But you're soft. You're like water. You're like water, okay? So as you're softening yourself, you could say that you are becoming him, in a sense. But then what you do is you could add little elements where you're using a mechanical move, okay? So you want to balance the instinct of your reaction of being choked up, or you might have some certain ways to lock out of there, move. That's very mechanical, right? Again, we mentioned in the beginning of this masterclass, that you want to basically understand that balance between being mechanical and being instinctual, okay? So once you have the mechanics down, you have the logistics down that, okay, I might do this move next, and then I might try and put my foot somewhere else, right? In terms of I'm not an expert in jiu-jitsu, but from what I've seen, you know, there is a lot of groundwork as well as a lot of, you know, work on, yeah. So I would actually, yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. So I would actually watch a lot of, you know, Conor McGregor's coach who taught him very specialized movements. So we actually, our movements in day to day, we don't do certain movements day to day. Okay, so what I would actually get you to do is start to train your body in very idiosyncratic and quirky ways. So maybe start walking like an animal, right? I would watch a lot of like Ido Portal. If you haven't seen his London Reel one, that's highly recommended, right? Because he has a movement culture. So when you think of movement, not just as a thing you do to get healthy or whatever, but if you think of it as a culture, as a concept, as a philosophy, as a framework where you've created the container and now you can live and move through it, like some kind of a petri dish, right? Culture, bacteria, right? That wasn't a joke. I was trying to use a metaphor in a sense. All right, so let's go back to this. This idea of making your movements very erratic, right? Creating pattern interrupts in your movement. So as he's choking you out, right, you have these little bursts of, like Bruce Lee, he would make animal noises during his fights, right? He'd just go, like he would make random noises, right? And that would really trip up his opponents. It'd be like, what the heck? What is he doing? And certain, you know, referees also would disallow it. I understand that. However, if you can move into that space where you're like, I am unpredictable, I am spontaneous, anything can happen from this mode, then you're powerful in your craft. Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Kind of like the Frank Grillo, right, from Kingdom. Exactly. All right, I'm going to stop it for the YouTube. Thanks for watching, guys, on YouTube. Have an amazing day. May the flow be with you. Stay legendary. All right, see you guys soon.